Welcome back to the series in which I test out size 10 round brushes to see if I can find a favorite brush. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at the Jackson Art/Hanover Toray brush. Now, the reason why I say Jackson Art/Hanover is because it's either Hanover or Hanover. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Hanover. The reason why I put both is because I got one that says Toray Jackson's, but I cannot find Jackson's Toray anywhere on Jackson's website, and I even asked Ev to have a look and see if she can find it, and we both agreed that no, this is the Hanover Toray brush. So not quite sure what's going on there, but it's the same handle, it's the same font, it's the same series number, which is series 222 for the round, and the same the bristle. It's exactly the same, just different information on the brush. So we're pretty sure that this is the same brush as the Hanover Toray round series 222 size 10 brush. And that sense of confusion carried on while testing this brush, and I'll talk you through that. But let's talk about the infos first. This brush is made in Germany and it is made from Toray brush. We had the Toray brush before in the Escoda Perla, which I will link up here. And you guys know that it was one of my favorite brushes that I've tested so far in this series. It was a beautiful brush. It's a Japanese made bristle fiber. It is suitable for watercolor, gouache and ink. The round shape is available from 000 all the way to 48, which is insane. One day I'm going to buy this massive brush and show you guys what it's like. The overall brush length is 21.3 centimeters, which is a little bit shorter, but it's not noticeably shorter. Bristle length is 2.8 centimeters and the width is 6.6 millimeters, both of which are pretty standard for a size 10 brush. It is available from Jackson's for £8.10, which is about $10.93 US. And again, if you want to buy this, look for the Hanover Toray rather than the Jackson Toray, because you won't find Jackson Toray. I don't know what's happened. So you have a nice chiseled point. It's quite firm as a snap test. But anyway, the real drama comes from this test sheet. And this was single-handedly the most stressful test I have ever done. I started off with the water capacity and I was like, okay, so this doesn't hold much water, but then I got really stressed when I did the up and down one, because I'm like, what on earth is going on? If you look here, that is not normal. That is not how any brush should be. You get huge water releases and then very dry, very dry brush. It's almost like this brush hated water. So I thought, maybe it's got a coating or the glue is hydrophobic for some reason. And so I gave it a really deep wash with the soap. I know some of you out there are very thorough people and very good at dealing and looking after this brush. And you probably wash every brush before you use it for the first time. I don't. I just, if it comes glued or whatever, I just kind of break it up and then just wash it in a jar of water that I use for cleaning my brush when I'm painting. I obviously don't use that one water because it has glue in it and I don't really want that on the paints, but I've never had a problem, and I've tried quite a few brushes by now. Never had a problem. That was always enough. Just swish it around in the jar of water and the brush works fine. Never had a brush look like this on the first use. But anyway, let me carry on. I gave it a really good thorough wash, but it still had huge water retention issues in that for each of these leaves, I reloaded the brush each and every time. So it was fully loaded brush, but it looks like I didn't. And the snake, the water ran out. It was a little bit better here, around here than here, because I gave it a good wash, but it was still not acting, like how brushes should do. So I gave it another wash and started using scrap pieces of paper to just condition the brush. And so I thought if I just showed you guys this for the video and said it was crap, then somebody's going to complain that I didn't give it a good go and a fair chance with this brush. So I have done a second test, and the second test is significantly better. Like, for example, let's look at the release. It's a lot better than this, and the leaves are better. So if you do use this brush, you're gonna need to give it really, really good washes first. So it took a couple of washes of soap with soap. Well, it was actually 3 washes with soap because I did 2 washes on the second go, and a lot of conditioning first. After that is how this brush will behave. Water load is actually pretty good. The release is pretty good. However, you might notice around this test sheet and the previous test sheet, there are a lot of drops here. Normally, if you fully load a brush, a good brush will be able to hold that brush, and even if you hold your brush vertically, it shouldn't drop any paint until you touch that paper. However, this brush just kept dripping everywhere. I had so many drips outside of the test sheets, and I had one here, one here, one here. I had another one on here. I had another one on here, which is why that looks bizarre. I had another one here. I have another one here. It just drips paint everywhere. So just on that, I wouldn't recommend this brush. Even after it's fully conditioned, it still drips. But in terms of water capacity, it's actually pretty good. Torays are good for water retention. In terms of release, it was slightly uneven. You can see dark spots here and here. When the moment you touch, there's a lot of release. And then when you come up, the moment you come up, there's a lot of release. The ends are quite uneven because the brush isn't coming back together well in one go. In terms of max width, it is 2.2 centimeters, so that's round about the middle of the range of max widths that we've tested so far. In terms of belly drag, it runs out of water very fast. I feel like, I did 2 full test sheets and some more scrap pieces of paper tests and trying to condition this brush, and I felt like it never fully soaked up water. I never felt like the bristle was fully saturated, and it didn't matter how much I tried to saturate the brush, it never felt that way. In terms of thin lines, you get pretty good thin lines because this has very nice chiseled tip that comes together nicely when it is wet. This is the Jackson Toray wet, and I can feel that there's a little kink here as well, which is not great. Can you see that kink? Where this side is straight and this side is curved. But it really doesn't hold enough water. You can see this is just with fully loaded brush with water and then just rub it on the edge of the water jar. And I just spread that, and you can see how dry that brush is when it's fully loaded with water. The tip is quite firm as well, so you have good control. You get nice even thin lines, which is great. In terms of leaf, again, some unevenness, but the biggest issue with this is the drop that happens. So if you are for some reason going to use this brush, never fully load it or just take some of it off before you go over to your painting, because otherwise you're just going to cry with drips everywhere. In terms of snake, you can see that the paint runs out very fast. All the way here, it's already doing dry brushing, so it doesn't have resilience as much. In terms of flat wash, it's pretty even. I don't actually remember how many loads of this wash was. I'm really sorry about that, but I know it won't be a couple or one, because if it was, then I would have written it down here. In terms of gradation, because it just ejects water away from itself, I found that when you dip your paintbrush into water to let go of some of that paint, it just all goes off, so you get a huge drop in value here. So water control is very difficult in this brush if you want it juicy. In terms of lifter, it lifts pretty well because it's a medium to firm brush and it's got a nice tip, so you get nice crisp lift here. In terms of dashes, you get tadpoles like you can see here and here, and if you want to take a closer look, you guys know high-res scans of all my test sheets over on my Patreon, patreon.com/Oto Kano. It's uneven and you get tadpoling, which is not ideal. So what do I think of this brush? I think it replaces the top spot for the worst brush away from the Escoda Prado, and because I've never had a brush that needed this much conditioning and so many washes with soap. It was just a nightmare. And then I can understand the brush needing lots of conditioning if it behaves great afterwards, but it doesn't. It drips everywhere and the water control is incredibly difficult. So I would not recommend this brush. Sorry, Jackson. Sorry, Hanover. But this is not a good brush. If you do want to give it a go for any reason, maybe you're really into dry brushing, in which case this brush is good for, then I do have the link to where you can get this brush in the description down below. But I wouldn't recommend it. But if you do get it, do let me know how you get on with it. If you have tried this brush, do let me know if this issue was unique to this particular brush or if you've experienced this yourself, because I think that's really, really useful information for people to gather. Also, if you love this brush, do let us know why you love this brush and what you feel is good for. Again, amazing information for the community. So thank you very much for taking your time to write those comments. In the next episode, we're going to carry on with Jackson's and try the Jackson's kite. In the meantime, please hit subscribe and like button and comment away because that really helps grow the channel. And thank you so much for watching this video, and I will speak to you guys in the next episode. Bye!